Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, ladies and gents. This is the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast, the Spanish GP review, and of course, as always, joined by Killen. How are you, mate? You good?
Jim, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. Recorded this a day later than normal. Normally record on a Monday night, don't we? But yeah, I'm all good. Really enjoyed that weekend. There's something about Jerez. It's up there with Mugello for me in terms of. I'm just getting excited about it. I feel like it's one of the main races. I don't know if you even have a main race of MotoGP, can you really? Yeah, you could in a way. I don't know. Do you feel the same way about Jerez? I don't know if it's just because it's like 120,000 people and it feels like a fan frenzy you see on TV. I've been there. I think for me, it's Jerez is up there with Aston Mugello. Well, I know Philip Island's where you always say, but do you know what I mean?
It's kind of funny for me with Jerez. I used to
Yeah.
have a very love-hate relationship with Jerez. Over the
All
sort
right.
of past 10 years or so, I haven't actually been the biggest fan of it. But in the last sort of 3, 4, 5 years, I've sort of seen, how passionate the crowd is, the number of people that show up, and especially the last few years, we've gotten some of the best racing that we've had in a long time. So I have to say, Jerez has really sort of gone up a notch or several in my book, and I have to say, I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate it a lot more as a round than maybe I would have before. So I think putting it up there with the Magellos, the Phillip Islands, the Assens, and so on, I don't think that's an outrageous take at all.
It's just a traditional race, isn't it? To be fair, just out of curiosity, what was it just the layout you didn't like, or one of those things that you didn't like, and you couldn't really pick out the reason for?
Yeah, I think for me, and again, maybe I'm sort of the one person on this sort of side of the argument. I think for me, I used to find the layout quite boring. I don't
Right.
remember us getting that many brilliant races. Obviously, you have Rossi, Gibernau, Marquez, Lorenzo at the final corner. But
Hmm.
apart from that, I just remember quite sort of dull, boring races over the last number of years. But again, I think I don't know what's changed in the last few years, but we've had Paco Marquez in the last few years. We've had Jorge Martin putting on some incredible battles. And then we had this
Yeah,
past weekend, which was probably one of the best race weekends in the Premier class we've had in a long, long time.
yeah. I think Jerez can be like that though, can't it? Jerez has that tendency. You're either going to get a stonker that you'll never forget, or sometimes somewhere in between. But I remember a couple of races where Danny Pedrosa just rode off into the distance. Marc maybe the odd time, Rossi at the odd
Yeah.
time. So yeah, no, you're 100% right in your defence. It is a narrow track. It is very difficult to pass in Jerez. Very difficult. When you go trackside, sometimes you can't believe it's how narrow it is. It's probably only a little bit wider than half of the width of Silverstone. But yeah, I mean, sitting in that stadium section, folks, there's nothing quite like it. If you're after atmosphere on the calendar, that corner, that stadium section, um, there's there's nothing really that comes close. Maybe the Pinnacle Rossiera and parts of Magello sat on the hill, yeah, okay, fine. But if you want pure atmosphere, go to Jerez. So yeah, I always get really excited for it. And we had paella on Sunday actually as well. Me and Alex cooked homemade paella, and yeah, we went all out on the ingredients, got the mussels, got the seafoods, we actually got chicken chorizo as well. Everything you can think of, some really good Spanish wine, and we sang quite a lot of Estrella. So yeah, it was a nice Sunday to enjoy that. Um, but away from the Sunday, before we get on to those bits, we're not going to go through every single team and manufacturer like we normally do, folks, because I feel like we need to mix it up here and there now and again. I think a lot of people were banging on about all weekend was the Marquez thing in the sprint. By the way, folks, that was an amazing sprint. Yes, sometimes flag to flag races can be boring because they took out massive split gaps between riders because of crashes, and so people have played it in the pits, very smart or very stupid. So you don't always get the good racing, but that was carnage, Keelan. Absolute
Oh yeah.
carnage. I still can't believe it. Was it 4 or 5 laps left? I thought, no, they'll just stay out, and then he just couldn't stay out anymore. Did it remind you of the 2021 Austria race? Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. Sure enough, Brad.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Brad was
that
on course with it, wasn't he? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing that immediately comes to mind when you see
Yeah.
flag to flag now. You think, holy crap, it's Austria 2021.
Yeah.
We're gonna get another Brad Binder staying out in slicks and winning the whole damn thing. It was, I mean, look, we'll get into the Marquez thing specifically, but as a race, it was an unbelievable spectacle. I mean, it was dramas, thrills, spills, everything you ever could hope for from a main race. You got in the sprint, so I have to say I was
Mm.
very impressed by the race. I thought it was unbelievable.
You can't really. You are always going to get carnage like that when it's unexpected. I feel like they weren't talking about. Well, TNT Sports weren't talking about rain too much before the race started. There was a chance of rain. I couldn't believe how many riders. I know it's only a sprint, so you've got less laps to risk if you don't think it's going to massively pour down. But everyone just kept staying out, and to the point where yes, Marc crashed first. Anyone was going to crash first. I don't think that was him pushing too hard in the sprint on the wet tires. I think Marc maybe just pushed that bit harder on the braking. He was already lent over into that last corner when he crashed on slick. When Alex Marquez crashed, it was almost. It's never funny when someone crashes, but when Alex Marquez tipped it into the left towards the stadium section on the slicks, and it just went bleh, like that. He was barely even leant over. I just couldn't believe that some riders weren't taking the risk, the gamble on the wet earlier and having to wait for it to get that bad. Fortunately, no one was really hurt. And obviously, I think we did see an incident later on with Toprak, didn't we? That was in the sprint, wasn't it? With Toprak and Savadori. So, messy one, but everyone got away with it. And that's the main thing. But by that logic, we can watch a crazy bonkers sprint. Now, we'll get on to it, folks, because it's still a topic here on Wednesday morning or Tuesday night. And Marquez cutting this. Now, everyone was thinking at the time, I think he can't do that. Marc can't do that. That must be against the rules. You can't just cut across the track going to the pit lane entrance. Now, we were all thinking that probably, but the rule does not say that. Now, what the rule actually says is that you can't cut across the blue on the inside of the pit lane entrance. So, like shortcutting the entrance when you're already in the entrance, if that makes sense. Because in Jerez, it mirrors the last corner, but you can't cut on the inside of that, right? It says that. Also, you cannot cut the white lines that guide you onto the track on the pit lane exit. There isn't actually a written rule that says you cannot cut from the outside in. Believe it or not, folks, Marc did not break a rule. Now, some people find that bollocks. Yes, he did. Well, he actually didn't. The FIM, the MSMA, Dorna, the whole of the commission aren't just going to make up a rule so they can punish him. Regardless if we think the morals of it, he should have got one because he skipped a whole lap and maybe would have crashed in turn. It doesn't matter what we think would have happened, folks. There can't be a rule made up just so Marcus can get penalised. Again, Marc found a loophole in the rules and exploited it. I'm sorry, but you've got to take your hat off to him. In my opinion, you might be a Marc fan or not. I've even written down in my notes here, folks. He wasn't given he was given a penalty for the Acosta overtake in Thailand. So people that say Marquez gets protection, it's Marc. He needs to do well for the show. Marc got penalised for what most people thought was a very good overtake in Thailand for the sprint. One of the most controversial things this year, one of the most entertaining races we've had this year. Marc got penalised for that move on Acosta. So if he gets protection, why didn't he get protection for that? I think it was a fair, clever, and a normal decision from Simon Crafar not to penalise Marc for something that in the rule book said he was fine. So by that logic, for me, it's quite clear. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the rule gets changed. What did you think on this, Keeler, when you watched it?
Yeah, this is obviously a really interesting issue because, like you said, there are a lot of people within the fandom who saw what happened on Saturday and wanted Marquez punished for essentially riding across the track and getting in the pit lane, changing bikes and getting back out on track again. The problem is, if you want Marquez punished, the reason it's a problem for you is everything Jim just said. It's not an actual rule that he broke. The rule states that as long as you don't cross the blue section of the entrance in the pit lane, you've done nothing wrong. And whether he's either playing 5D chess or he doesn't realize what's going on, Marc Marquez, it was just a very good outcome from very quick thinking, and that's really all it is. He managed to keep the clutch in on his bike when he crashed. He
Yeah,
was able to
yeah, yeah,
waited out everybody going past. He got across the track safely. He got into pit lane as per the rules. He changed his bike and he got back out again. And again, whether you're a Marquez fan or you're not, in a way you have to tip your cap to him because it. Again, I don't think he knew what he was doing. I just think he's able to think very quickly.
yeah,
He's able
yeah,
to assess what's going on around him and he reacts quicker than anybody else does. And on this occasion, I think you have to tip your cap and applaud him for just very quick thinking on the spot. That being said, like you, I do think the rule eventually will get changed by Simon Crayfar and the
yeah.
commission. But in terms of Saturday, I don't have any problem with what Marquez did. I think he was just very clever.
Yeah, well, it was as you said. You could tell it was quick thinking. He was patient as well. He didn't try feather his way through the pack. As he waited for everyone to pass first, and then went calmly and slowly and under the pit lane limiter, didn't he? So he did everything
Yeah,
else fine and safe. So it wasn't an unsafe entrance. Again, quick thinking, just like the quick thinking he did at Kota last year when yeah, again, it was exploiting
exactly.
a gap in the rule or the part where there isn't any rules to sneak and change the tires before the race started. So it's again Mark thinking quickly. Valentino has similar traits as well, whether it be psychological or just being clever and tactical. Obviously, in a very competitive manner. And the fact that Mark still won that sprint. When he got back and did it, I still didn't think he would win that sprint. I thought we'd actually see someone like Brad win it. And I didn't think Brad would lose that once he was on wets. And Brad did crash on wet tyres, which I thought was a crying shame, considering he hasn't won a sprint for ages, hasn't won a race for even longer. I was there when Brad won the sprint in 2023 in Jerez, when the KTM easily was the fastest thing off the line. So it's a shame that Brad couldn't bring it home. But nonetheless, really entertaining race. And I just wish that some fans would realise that you can't make up a rule to punish someone. Whether you like it or not, it wasn't written down. So Mark gets a lot of stick for these sort of things, and it's annoying because it's the sort of thing that in 10 years' time, a lot of these fans that have grown up and matured and realised, oh yeah, he was a bloody good rider, he wasn't he? Because a lot Casey used to get the same stick, like he was so fast that people found him boring, or this, that, and the other. Like he wasn't much of a personality, and he didn't like the media, and he didn't smile that much. Call him Casey Mona, and the same people now who don't like Mark are praising Casey. Guys, just see the bigger picture here. You're witnessing greatness. You are witnessing greatness, whether you like him or not. Genius. Genius. It's just a shame that Sunday couldn't materialize it. And that's to do with his injury that we'll get to. And Keelan has something to say about that as well. Um, Before we go on to any more with Sunday, well, in general, Keelan, this Aprilia and Ducati gap that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, mate.
Hmm.
Now, do we think that that was shrunk in Jerez, or was it not as much? It's just that Alex Marquez had that much of an advantage over everyone this weekend. Sorry, last weekend. That it sort of made it think that they had closed the gap because obviously in qualifying Q2, the Aprilias couldn't get on the front row. It was drying track.
Hmm.
Do you think it was disguised a bit, and the Aprilia is still easily the best bike? What do you think?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think anybody's or anything has changed from my perspective. I
Yeah,
still think the Aprilia is the best package on the MotoGP grid. I think I think it's kind of like 1A and 1B with Aprilia and Ducati. I still think Ducati's very, very close to it. But if I had to pick a bike to be on right now, I would still pick to be on the Aprilia because I think it's the best all-round package on the grid. And like I said, I don't think this weekend's changed my thoughts on that. In terms of Alex Marquez, who, by the way, credit to him, he had a brilliant Sunday, and I thought he was just untouchable. The only person that would have beat Alex Marquez, I think, maybe would have been Mark, because I think it's like maybe a brotherly thing. I just don't think Alex has it in him to beat Mark one on one. That's just my own controversial opinion.
really?
But
Yeah, yeah,
I just think Alex was too good, and I think he had the flow and he had the rhythm, and I don't think it mattered what bike was behind him. I think he would have won the way he did. So basically, to answer your question, for me, best bike in the grid still Aprilia.
yeah, yeah. I would agree. Le Mans is a different animal entirely, but I think we might even go to that might even be more of an Aprilia track. Yes, there's the straights. There is a longer straight there technically, but the Aprilia hasn't really shown that it's weak in straight line speed, has it? So, um, but I think that's a good point about what we say about Marc. Alex definitely had the race pace, and we've heard speaking to the media that even he was faster than some of the left corners of Marc, which is something we've never heard of. But because of Marc's injury that is clearly playing up, we saw the pictures the media was sharing around on Thursday. The scar, he's clearly not 100% fit. However, ifs and buts mean nothing, but we love to do it. If he didn't crash at Crivier Corner, I still think we'd have seen just a bit of a stalemate, unless he had something left in reserve for the last 5 laps. The thing is, I think Alex would have been able to cover it. Alex was so much faster all weekend, it could have just been Marc keeping the gap. Maybe. We'll never know. It did rob us, the thought of it robbed us of a better race, but Alex deserved it. And again, that's the second year in a row he's won his home Grand Prix. And I think last year he also waved to the crowd in that stem section when he was still racing on the last lap. But yeah, he had the confidence to do it. Happy for Alex Marquez because he's had a bit of a lousy start to the year. That win, Keelan, has only pumped him up to seventh in the standings after the win. Just shows you, he really needed that. So hopefully that can give him some confidence. And there's something else for the Aprilias to think about. Because if Marc is going to keep struggling, the competition like Alex could be their chief rival. We'll see. But yeah, I do think that the weather changed things. I think the Aprilias might have been on the first row. And thankfully for Bez in the race, he got an electric start and was P2 behind Marc. And if it wasn't for that start, I think Bez would have struggled to stay there. In the end, they might have come through anyway. The only real Aprilia stoppage they had was Didier splitting them in the race.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah. So, and we'll get to Didier. That's pretty much it for Marc, folks. Let's just wish him well because that's now no wins for 6 months in the main race. He's won another sprint. But yeah, let's just hope we get Marc back. Not to the point where he wins every race. Not like that, please. But yeah,
we want him kind of back.
We want him kind of back so we can battle for wins. That's what the sport needs. That's what we want. So yeah, Toprak has got the Oglu. Probably made the best save ever. I mean, Marc's done some corkers. Marc's done so many saves, hasn't he, in the past that I don't think that we remember specific ones apart from maybe Valencia 2017 and 2018 in Catalonia. But that save from Toprak just showed you, folks, the skill that guy has. Did you see that one live? Or did you just see the replays?
Yep.
God, yeah.
Nuts. No, I was watching live and I still can't believe what I saw. I'm convinced that what I saw was some kind of AI because I can't believe a human being's capable of doing that. That was probably the best save I'll ever see on a motorcycle.
The fact that it looked like more impressive because it was so slow and so obviously gone. It was gone. It actually was gone. So
he was gone.
Yeah, yeah, he was. Oh God. Some people say that about it. Oh, you wouldn't be able to do that on the 500s tires. Like, no one's saying the tires aren't better, but you can't take away from the skill of him and Marc. I mean, you don't see it from any other people really. Now and again, I mean, Colin Edwards was the original in Jerez, granted, in 2008. Yep. But that was not as far gone as Toprak's was at the last corner over the week. It's just nuts. I must have watched it about 20 times over, folks. But yeah, so looking at Digi, what do you think there then with Digi? Do you think he's probably got the best package? If you put Marc aside, he's the best at the moment to attack these Aprilias over maybe most of the season, would you say?
I think over the course of the season, yes, he probably is the best position to tackle the Aprilia onslaught. And I think what's so interesting about Fabio Di Giannantonio is that this all feeds into, the discussions about, whether he should be renewed or not and this and that.
Oh, yeah.
I think Fabio, I think Digi is such a criminally underrated motorcycle racer, and I've thought this for quite a while. He is so good at what he does, and he's in the perfect environment to be as good as he is. I think Fabio Di Giannantonio is a legitimate championship-worthy rider. He's that good. And I think you saw this weekend, he is just so rock solid. Okay, yes, Granted, there can be the occasional race where he's nowhere and he does have the occasional outlier, but for the most part, I mean, he just makes what he has work so well, Jim. Everything that he's got going on underneath him, he just seems to be in a flow state with it. And I do think over the course of the season, that could well translate to being the most competitive Ducati.
Well, yeah, yeah. If Pecco doesn't find his mojo, which looks like I wouldn't say he's given up, but it doesn't look like he's going to find it anytime soon. Yes, okay, he got a podium on Saturday, which even he said was by a bit of default with people crashing and whatnot. But with Alex Marquez maybe being hit and miss, unless this is his campaign starting now, then yeah, that's what I'm thinking the same. What do you think about these KTM rumors? Because and maybe other manufacturers as well, because even Uccio Salucci from VR46 knows about the interest right now. And it is just such a great story that we've said. It's wonderful for Uccio to see Fabio have this much interest because obviously when he was given a job at the end of his Gresini career, no one wanted him at all. He was done with MotoGP. He'd spent too long in the back on a Ducati. And
Yep.
now Digia is he's in high demand. I'm really happy for him. I just wonder what is the best scenario going into an era where no one really knows who's got the best bike. Apart from it's easy enough to sort of guess the Ducati will. Are you thinking stick to VR46 if you've got an offer, or do you if you've got a Red Bull factory KTM deal to be teammates with Alex Marquez, factory squad updates for this new era, all you want throughout 2027? What do you do?
So here's the thing people have to remember. This is a real 50-50 split depending on what you prioritize, whether it's a sporting motivation or it's a financial motivation. On
Yes.
the one hand, with VR46 at the moment, you have got a Ducati beneath you, which is still debatably the best bike on the grid. You're in the VR46 team. You're managed by Uccio Salucci and all the guys at VR46. You know the background. You love the background. You get on well with everybody in the team, and you kind of have the perfect environment where you're hitting good form. On the other hand, next season we have new regulations. We don't know what's over the horizon. Plus, you have a factory contract where it's been
Yeah.
rumored you get up to X the amount of money that you would get riding for a current satellite team.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is this, because we talked about this with Alex Marquez a couple of weeks ago. On the one hand, I do not blame any rider for wanting to look after themselves financially. It's a short career. It can be a savage career. I mean, look at what it's done to
Yeah.
Marc Marquez.
Yeah.
He's probably got the exoskeleton of a 60-year-old man with the damage he's taken across his career.
Yeah.
And that similar damage can hit you so easily if you're any rider in the MotoGP grid. So always look after yourself financially, and I would never begrudge anybody for doing that. That being said, here's where I fall on this. It doesn't matter to me. They could say tomorrow we're going back to 500 cc's, and I would still trust Ducati to make a better bike than I would trust KTM to make a better bike, because history tells me that Ducati has the know-how to do it better than KTM does. That's not being disrespectful. That, in my eyes, is just a fact based on what I've seen in the past.
Mm.
So if I were Fabio Di Giannantonio, if I were, which of course I'm not, but if I was, I personally would stay at VR46, hopefully get a factory grade bike for next season, and stay in the environment that I know works best for me. But if I were getting factory money, factory salary, getting a bike built around me with pretty much all my input, I certainly wouldn't have a go at him for doing that either. There are a lot of opportunities to being a factory rider. And frankly, if he was paired with Alex Marquez, that is a bloody good team as well. That's a
Mm.
really, really experienced pairing if that does end up being the case. But if it were me, I would stay at VR40. But if he went for a factory contract, I would not begrudge him it either. And like you said, it's great to see him in high demand as well. It's a real
Yeah.
sign of how far he's come, and I'm so happy for him for that too.
Yeah. He's also become a more mature person as well, did you? Not that he was immature before, but it's just like he's just a complete rider now. He really is. And as we speak, folks, he's not a crasher. He reminds me of Pecco in a way. Well, before Pecco sort of was teammated by Marc Marquez, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Just calm, always calm, makes moves when he needs to, but he's calm a lot of the time. Obviously, different personalities, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the on track. So yeah, I think either move should be okay as long as it looks like it will only be one team next year if this Honda Tech 3 thing happens. So the only thing is as well, Keelan, if it's only 2 bikes. Remember when Yamaha only had 2 bikes? You know,
Yep.
2024 and before, wasn't it? Yeah, 25 they had Pramac, didn't they? So yeah, you don't get enough bikes developing. No, not enough rider input for development. So yeah. Although they were the first to, publicly show the 850. Do you remember the back end of last year when KTM Factory
Yep.
Racing put it was Jerez as well, wasn't it? And the 850 looked good, sounded good. I actually saw that video
Sounds
pop up. So,
amazing.
yeah, it did. Yeah. Do you know what? I saw that video pop up the other day, and some guy from Ireland that was the top comment saying, "Bike sounds absolutely amazing." Yeah, and it was you kissing the Red Bull KTM factory team's social media's ass. No, it did sound good actually. It did sound very good. It sounds very much
I
similar to
won-
the thousands. Sorry, go on.
yeah, I wonder who that was.
Yeah. Ooh, it sounds so good, guys.
Oh, KTM friends.
Give me a pass.
By the way, if anyone from KTM is watching, feel free to hit us up. We will do the thing. Brilliant. To be fair, it does sound fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think anyone worried the 850s won't sound as good as the thousands. If anything, guys, they might even be higher pitch. Because I remember when the 800s when you play the 800s bar, if you find somewhere someone with a really high res camcorder or phone 800s, and I remember the 800s, they did pace the ear more because they were higher pitch. That's not just because most of them were screamer engines. The pitch of the engines was actually louder than the thousands.
Yeah.
And I think they'll rev pretty much the same because they have not limited the RPM. Thank God, because one of the best things of going to a race and hearing MotoGP engine is having your ears blasted, in my opinion. But anyway, going off piece there, doing in between his impressions now, folks. Yeah, if you've never seen it, folks, then I'm sure you have. Anyway, away from that, you wanted to talk about Marquez's crash in the race at the Crivier corner, Keelan. Was that a question? Was that a
Yeah.
question to me? Because
No,
that was a fast crash.
Oh yeah, that was about 130 miles an
Yeah.
hour, 120,
Yeah.
130. And
Yeah.
I think the reason I wanted to mention it is, and I suppose this is a question for the people listening as well, because obviously we want you to be as involved in this as possible. What I really was wondering when I saw that happen is, first of all, I obviously wanted to know he was all right, and thankfully he was. But to
Yeah.
me, the crash raises the question of that I raised sort of towards the beginning of the season about, is Marc feeling the pressure for the first time in a long time? And is he sort
Yeah.
of reverting back to type of win it or bin it, that sort of old school Marc Marquez? Could this be what we're seeing when he's finally really feeling the pressure from Aprilia now? What do you think?
Yes and no. I would say I think it's lack of strength. But I don't understand this because we've just had 3 weeks
3
off,
weeks,
didn't we?
yeah.
Because obviously we had big gap go because Qatar was cancelled. So we had 3 weeks, 3 and a bit weeks. So yeah, and he's had all winter. So I don't know when it will actually heal. If it hasn't healed in that time, I don't know when it will. Mark's good at hiding things. He keeps saying that to the media that something is wrong, something isn't wrong. So why should they believe what he says in that regard? But I think Mark's good enough to ride around the problems. So that's why I'm blaming the arm. I don't
Okay,
think
that's
he's,
fair.
yeah. The Aprilia thing is real, though. I think he knows that it's not. He's on a harder bike. The GP26 is, and it's not just the Lenovo team GP26. They're difficult to ride. Yes.
Yeah,
Whereas the Aprilia is very user friendly. It reminds me of the old school M1s. From like
very true.
2000. I don't know. Even from the 990 era Yamaha M1, and the Aprilia is fast everywhere. And the satellite team at Trackhouse is proving that as well. Again, we've got those 2 boys up there. Aguirre beating Ralph Fernandez, but truthfully, we've got 5th and 6th places for the Trackhouse boys in that. Sorry, guys, if you're listening, but that was that is not a good livery. That's not good. That one-off sponsor that they have is not the one, but that's beside the point. But yeah, the Aprilia is really, 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 really easy to ride. Well, easy in compared to the MotoGP bikes. So yeah, again, we've got in the top 6, all Aprilias are in the top 6 again. So yeah, Marc will be thinking about that. And there's little he can do about it other than ride around the problems and hope his arm gets better. But the Alex Marquez corner crash, he could have done that when he was fully fit. Don't forget, Marc did crash a lot at the start of last year, mate. And he still went on
True.
to win the championship with, 4 or 5 races left? And then didn't even do that
Yeah.
last 4 or 5 races because he was injured. So he won the championship to sod it off. So Marc's got every chance of shaking this off, and then he'll start winning slowly. But it isn't the best bike anymore. That much, I'm sticking with you on that. It is not the best bike anymore. So he's got to ride around the issues, which he did in many years in the Repsol Honda anyway. It was many years where the Repsol Honda wasn't as good as Dovi's Ducati. So Marc's, if he finds his mojo again, I still think he could be world champion this year because we've still got 18 Grand Prix left, Caleb. So
exactly.
Yeah. And obviously he crashed out of Kota last year, crashed out of Jerez last year. So it's not a zillion miles different this year, is it? He's won 2 sprints as well. No, he's not. He won 3. No, 2 sprints. Yeah, he would have won the one in Thailand, but obviously he got the penalty for passing Acosta very aggressively. So yeah, it's still possible. But I think we pretty much covered everything in MotoGP. Apart from, well, I'll tell you what. There's a tiny little thing I want to touch on the test, but we need to move to Moto2, I think, Keelan, because we saw that was the race of the day, in my opinion. The Moto2 race was the race of the day. It was actually quite tense for most of it because it was predominantly, wasn't it, the 3 of them at the front. So we had Colin Vire trying to control the gap and trying to hang on. He looked like he was controlling the gap, and you had Agius sitting pretty with Gonzalez, as ever, just looking really, really smooth. I thought, I remember, what did you think? Did you think Colin Vire was going to win? I thought he was going to win that race, and he was going to maybe let them pass him and then get them at the end anyway. Or Agius was the one being really clever. What were you thinking was going to happen there?
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because on the one hand, like you said, you have Colin Vire controlling it for so long, but for some reason, and I can't explain why, I always had the feeling that Senna Agius had something in his back pocket, just that bit extra to go on and eventually win.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maybe confidence from winning at the last round and then translating that into Jerez. But I always had this feeling that even though Colin Vire did a brilliant job and he deserves a lot of credit, I always had the feeling that Senna Agius had something extra, and that obviously did end up being the case because he won the damn thing. But yeah, I just had the feeling Senna was going to win, and I think what you really see there is the value of momentum.
Well, this is it. That's 2. He had 2 race wins in the entirety last year. Yeah, and now we've had 4 races this year, and he's won 2 of them. I mean, he's won 50% of the races this year so far. So Senna is a hot commodity, and I thought at one point, are you being too overzealous here? And then he sat back in 3rd after making a few moves that didn't go quite to plan. Sat in 3rd, he sat pretty, and he made his moves when he needed to. Really impressed. Really impressed. He's got a very mature head on his shoulders, considering he's 20. Senna is, and any talk of him not deserving MotoGP and it should go to someone like Guevara or Gonzalez, I think you're out your depth saying that, because in this field, being this stacked with talent, and he's 20 and he's beating someone who has been what? Gonzalez been in the top group of Moto2 for the last 5 seasons, was always Mr. P5, only started winning once they all went to MotoGP, right? And he's beating Gonzalez. Gonzalez never can retaliate. He does sometimes, but Senna looks so much more alive, so much more I want it than Manu did. It's just evident to see. And I don't really get it. The commentator is always big Manu up, and that's English commentary as well. And it's just always the same. He's a very consistent rider, and I can see why Intact will keep him forever because he'll always bring it home on the podium and bring home the odd win. But Senna's exciting. Senna's fast. Senna wants it. And I think he absolutely deserved that win. He was very, very controlled at the ends, timed it beautifully. Didn't ruin his tyres. I really, really hope he gets a MotoGP ride next year. I really do, because he deserves it, and the sport needs it. Yes, sometimes these passports say too much. If you're Gonzalez, you're just a good Spaniard going to MotoGP. You're not a generational Spaniard going to MotoGP. Fine, that'd be still fine if he was replacing someone like Maverick Vinales. Fine, but Senna Agius, I think it's more important to get to MotoGP, just in case Jack doesn't get a ride next year. And Senna's 20. He's probably got 15 years in MotoGP ahead of him if he's as good as we think he is. Would you say all that's fair, or would you say bit over the top, Jim? He's only won 4 races, but he's only had 2 full years and 2.5 years. So, what do you think?
Jim, I'm going to tell you something. The people at Dorna / MotoGP Sport and Entertainment Group / Dorna in disguise, whatever their name is that they go by these days,
Slash
they
Liberty.
will be on their they will be / Liberty, exactly. They will be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for someone like Senna Agius, and I'm going to explain why. Here you have a kid who A is only 20 years old, B has the right passport, and C is extremely fast. He is the answer to all of the problems that MotoGP have at the moment, because having the right passport's one part of it. It's very hard to justify a passport place when the rider is at best average. Senna Aegis is showing you in front of your own eyes that he is not average. This kid is winning Moto2 races, and he's winning them well. And what you have is Jack Miller, probably Jack Miller's tailor-made replacement in the Premier class for probably the next decade and a half based on his current form. I think not only does Senna Aegis deserve a MotoGP seat, I think he needs a MotoGP seat because, again, all the reasons we talked about before, passport politics, making the sport globally popular, all that jazz. But he's a kid who speaks extremely well. He's very well thought of, and he's winning races. He's the perfect person to have in MotoGP. And frankly, it's about time. And don't get me wrong, I have all the love and respect in the world for Jack Miller, but it's about time someone else got a shot at it now, I think, to be totally honest. And I think Senna Aegis is the person to have that chance.
Yeah, I think sad, isn't it? It's sad to say in a way about Jack, but you're right. He has had he's worked pretty hard. So I'm not going to say lucky. No, Jack's not been lucky. He's worked extremely hard, but the rides he's had. If you look at his MotoGP resume, his employer list in MotoGP, considering he's had less than 5 wins in MotoGP, the teams he's rode for, Jack's had it well. He's done very well out of MotoGP, extremely well.
Extremely well.
And I think what you said is absolutely fair. If we get 2 Aussies in the grid next year for the first Adelaide race, then great. If not, then I think it should be Senna. Jack never went to Moto2, so that's something we'll never know. But I think Senna never went to Moto3, neither did Gonzalez. Some of these riders are blossoming in Moto2 because they're on a bigger bike. I think Senna's career would have probably been destined to be ruined forever if he only ever went to Moto3.
Yeah.
That's why the likes of taller blokes, a bit like Bulliger, had to leave Moto3. Didn't do much in Moto2, and the Super Sport paddock saved his career. And look at him now. Agius is getting faster as he's going up through the bigger bikes. He's on a Moto2 bike and he's fast now. More power, in theory, should be what he needs to, win races even more in MotoGP. That'll be a long way ahead yet. Obviously, going into a new era, but being used to Pirellis is only going to work in his favour.
Yeah.
I just hope that he's pragmatic and he's open to not massive money deals, because you probably won't get just yet. Because I think the only person who can massively demand a high salary and a factory ride from Moto2 is probably David Alonso right now, which he is doing, which is what he's doing apparently. But yeah, really excited for Agius, and one of the most convincing wins I've seen yet. Again, he doesn't really have those lucky wins. He wins very dramatically, does Agius, every time he does it. Yeah, really happy for him.
Yeah, here's just really quickly, sorry, before we move on.
Yeah.
Here's what you should
Yes.
do in a very quick sort of like step-by-step pattern. Senna Agius to MotoGP next year,
Yeah.
young, marketable, well-spoken star who you can build a profile around for an entire region of the world. Let Jack Miller go to World Superbike, factory Ducati, boost the popularity of that championship, and he gets a top-level ride in a still very competitive championship. Everybody wins out of that. No,
Yeah.
that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah. No, I mean Jack would do superbikes really good. Actually, he would. He would. Um,
And
he's
it's a
because
better schedule.
yeah, 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 and they still go to Phillip Island. Well, I'm hearing that might change, folks, but that'd be for another day potentially.
Oh, god
Um,
damn it.
moving on to Moto 3. Um, wasn't the best race of the day, which it normally is. Max Keeles looked like he had the measure of everyone, Keelan, quite convincingly so. Now it looks like he is already on the way to winning that world championship. Any surprises in that race for you, or do you think that was pretty much how you thought it was going to go? Again, we had I love it when you see Munoz and Adrian Fernandez both really aggressive, and when they're coming out the last corner, I thought Munoz was going to have a bit of that. Go on, off you get. What do you make of Moto 3?
Yeah, to be honest, there's really not much I can add here on like Moto 2 and MotoGP because it's basically what you said. Max Keeles we're like 3, 4, 5 races into the season and he looks like he's got one hand on the trophy already, which is crazy to say, but he is
Yeah, I
just
know.
that good. Yeah, he was just dominant from beginning to end. Like you said, he had the measure of everybody. Incredible performance once again, and well done to him. Brilliant battle between David Munoz and Adrian Fernandez. I thought the argy-bargy between both of them was really good to watch. And I thought that battle to the line was really, really good. It was a great spectacle, and credit to Adrian Fernandez for picking up a really good result. David Munoz continues a really strong start to his Moto3 season. But I think realistically, folks, and I don't mean to downplay the championship in any way, I
But
think what we're looking at now is we are looking at who's going to be second now because barring some major catastrophe, I don't
you
see
think?
anybody unseating Max Keeles. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, flashes of mini brilliance again from rookie Veda Pratama again, but someone like him at
P5, I believe.
6.
Was it
Yeah, I
was
mean,
P6? What a
yeah, but
performance!
yeah, again from a rookie, it's just he is the best thing that's ever happened. I mean, Furasato was great, Igura was great, but I think he might already be one of the greatest things that's ever happened to Honda Team Asia.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a very fair argument.
Because Vader is really, really, really exciting to watch as well. And maybe not this year, folks, but next year, Vader Pratama will fight for the Moto3 World Championship. I'm convinced of it because he's learning the tracks now. A lot of these tracks, yes, he's been to for rookies or junior GP, especially when we come into the European season next. Well, we just started the European season, but yeah, he's learning tracks like this. Well, then we went to Brazil, Goiânia, didn't we? And that was where he got his podium. But then again, no one had been there, so. But yeah, so I think in time he'll fight for a world championship. Yes, Keeles looks like it doesn't really look like anyone is strong enough to beat him. You'll have Peroni and Carpe in a battle with him, and they'll hold their own. You know, maybe Fernandez and Pini obviously won in Austin, but yeah, I think he's got the measure of most this year. I think it's a bit like watching David Alonso in 2024. But well, then again, Alonso won 14 races in
Yeah,
2024.
something like that.
That was a stupid record. So he's up there with David Alonso in theory. So yeah, Brit shout out and Irish shout out. 12 KCO Golden, and Scott was 16th, and we had of course Eddie O'Shea. Oh, hang on, what am I talking about, folks? I'm looking at the standings. Scratch that, idiot. um, looking at the Brits, folks. Scott Ogden P16 just outside the points. Scott normally enjoys a P12 at Jerez, so I don't know what you're doing, Scott. But we love you dearly, and there's always next time. I hope all is well in that team for Scott as well, because this is Scott's second year now with CIP Green Power. But more importantly than that, for yourself, will be very happy. We had P12 for Casey O'Gorman. Again, just really chill, really cool, no dramatics. Obviously, Kota wasn't the best for him, but I'm still massively impressed with his campaign so far. And as we go into the European season, I think it's going to stay how it is for Casey. I can't see him having any. There's no rookie look. I don't think happening with Casey O'Gorman. He had those few races at the end of last year, didn't he? Where he was standing in the intact squad. I think he got a taste of the World Championship then. So yeah, I think we can expect Casey O'Gorman folks to stay as a front runner or leading the second group in certain races, which is really good for the championship. Anything else to add on Moto3 before we move on to a tiny bit of testing?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I appreciate the shout out for Casey O'Gorman representing the glorious green, white, and orange on the world stage. I think for Casey, the big thing's going to be he's obviously, in my opinion, he's in one of the best teams in the world championship in the CH58 squad. I think for him, what's going to be big, because we did see it in qualifying in Austin, for him, it's just going to be getting to grips with finding the right pace and keeping the right pace.
Yeah.
Because especially maybe in Moto3 more so than any other class, it's about getting to the front but knowing how to get the pace to stay there. Because when you fall down and when you fall back in Moto3, it's so hard in the race to claw your way back up again at times. So I
Yeah.
think for Casey, focusing on getting good qualifying and maintaining the pace, if he can put all that together, he could. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to challenge for a title necessarily, but I think he will be able to do very good things for that squad because he's got some brilliant people around him.
No, he has, yeah, a good experience as well. It's good news for him and the Irish contingent. I mean, it's not often you get someone from Ireland who's this fast and who's already got a really big following immediately and well looked after. We say this on the pod all the time, folks. I know, but having the right people around you in the team, especially that age, is so damn important. And now look at this is the interview we did with Eddie O'Shea. Just proved that as soon as you get the right people around you and the atmosphere is good, you'll see results.
You're only as strong as your foundation.
Yeah, yeah. And Eddie, sometimes he might not get the results like Casey is, but he is on the right tracks and he's already way better than last year. For example, for Eddie O'Shea, because the atmosphere is there in the team and he's a much happier guy. Moving on from Moto3, just going to say, well, going to MotoGP for the test, I only really want to talk about Quartararo and the ridiculous improvement in lap time, well over a second faster in Monday than he was over the weekend in qualifying. Well, his fastest race time and fastest time in the dry. Now, I know that it's common knowledge, folks, that there's a lot of rubber laid down after a sunny Sunday, but whatever a second, because they put last year's wing on, the unhappy face wing, which was the same style wing that Fabio got those incredible pole lap records for last year. Jerez was one of them. Le Mans was another one. And Silverstone, I think he got pole as well. I think that might be one of the factors. So I'll be gobsmacked, Keelan, if we don't see that front wing back again for Le Mans, surely, especially when that's the next race up. And I think Fabio could do with at least, if it's only realistically half a second, then he needs that badly, right?
Yeah, I think realistically for Fabio, there's nothing he won't try at this point. So to find that last year's aero was working so well, I would be stunned beyond measure if that wasn't on the front of his bike in Le Mans. Like you said,
Yeah.
yes, there's a lot of rubber laid down from the weekend and all that kind of stuff, but to find a second is still massive, regardless of the environment or the circumstances. So hopefully for Fabio's sake, the team have finally found something that can push him further up the table because he doesn't deserve to be languishing at the foot of the rankings. We all
No.
know how good he is. I still think he's the most talented rider in MotoGP outside of Marc Marquez, and he deserves a package that backs that up. So hopefully they finally have found something.
Well, hopefully. I mean, there was I was having a chat with someone today, and they were saying, "What's the point in this? Just concentrate on the 850." Well, yes, but this isn't an 850 test, and also, if you think this might help the next 18 Grand Prix, I think you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Riders' morale, team morale, sponsor exposure, being on TV more, maybe because you're higher up the order in a race. It's just logic, to be honest. But yes, the 850s are important, but we need this. You can't just languish around the back and do nothing for 18 Grand Prix all the way to November. Yeah, you do still have to think about now. So yeah, fingers crossed, all will be well for Yamaha. A little bit better. I mean, realistically, a little bit better in Le Mans. I was just going to say, didn't say this before, but shout out to Bezecchi of all people. And the reason for that is that Bez, it's a bit boring to see it, but Bez sort of settled as soon as Marc crashed in the race. Bez did sort of settle for second quite soon on. I felt like he knew, right, Marc's out. I think he was already thinking about the championship. He probably knew it's going to come down to him and Marc to a degree. So
Yeah.
Bez just thought 20 points, Marc 0 today. And Bez has already got that mindset, I think, which is really, really good and good for Aprilia as well. So hats off to Bez for thinking like that, if that was the case, because it works. And Marc might do it again for all we know. I mean, touch wood, if Bez doesn't start crashing as well. I want them to fight on track. But I think it's really mature. I think he's got a mature head on his shoulders as Bez, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he does. And like you said, I don't know if it was a conscious thought or if circumstances dictated it. But if you're Marco Bezzecchi and you see Alex Marquez clearing off into the distance, you can either think to yourself, well, screw this, I'm going to crash it trying to win.
Yeah.
Or you can think to yourself, listen, it's 20 points in the bag. My nearest rival won't be getting any. I might as well take the massive advantage that I'm going to get and live to fight another day in Le Mans. And I think it's the perfect mindset to have. We've seen riders in recent years not have that mindset, and it's either cost them or very nearly cost them. So credit to Marco Bezzecchi. It's an excellent approach to have. It's the right approach to have.
Yes.
And now he's built up an even bigger deficit against Marc. That's only going to put more pressure on Marc to try and build up again.
Exactly. He obviously, in technically speaking, I mean, now we were both talking about long term in the championship, but don't want to forget about Martin, who actually technically is his nearest rival in the points, and he's still getting stronger. Is Jorge, and he obviously won the sprint in Austin. I think a race win is close. It has to start soon. Not taking. I mean, like I said, he's ahead of Marc in the standings, and he's a bit below Bez. But I think he needs to do it fairly soon, just to stomp that authority on. Like, hey, I'm number one as well. But it'd be good to see. I'm hoping it's a three-way title fight, maybe even four if Alex Marquez keeps on his form. So it's looking good, folks. It's looking good actually for the rest of the year. Let's just hope no one gets hurt, and Marc can get back up to speed in the coming races. So. Keelan, anything else, or we pretty much covered everything for the Spanish Grand Prix?
No, I'm all good. I think we've covered everything we needed to. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all of it.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah. Folks, thanks for tuning in. This might be one day later than usual, but the people listen to our podcast probably listen to a good few others. I know I certainly do. So getting some maybe different thoughts isn't a bad thing. But yeah, we'll be back next week previewing a bit of Le Mans, and don't know if it'll be next week, maybe the week after, but another Tales from motorcycle racing fans, a part 3 should be coming in the next month anyway. I know that's done quite well, and we'll appreciate the comments as well on social media for that. And some of the message has been really nice. So thanks for that, folks. And Keelan, thanks again for joining.
Mate, no worries at all. Always great to break down the weekend's events, and we will see you post France. So, au revoir for now, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Or pre-France, but I'm not going to try and speak in French and make a fool of myself. But folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. See you later.
See ya.